All right, welcome to part two of your experience with us to see if your time's gonna be best spent with us for your future. So my name is Scott again. You remember that from the first video. Let's talk about your introduction. So officially, this is the introduction to our group. The office I'm sitting in right now is our office in Chicago here. What you see in your screen is actually a picture of what we do every Thursday nights, this room. And what we're offering you a chance to do is participate in what we're doing here if you can't. Okay, so this is what it looks like on a Thursday night. That's only half of the building. We've got 3 other training rooms in this building. We've got 11 executive offices in this building. Our real intention with reaching out and sending ads all over the country and contacting individuals that might be interested in working with us is to open up locations like this in every city around the country so locals can do real estate together. And we've been doing this now, for about 6 years online. We have opened up 28 buildings all over the country. I've been traveling for the last 2 years, 2 and 3 times a week to run these meetings live in places like DC and Philadelphia and LA and Seattle and Phoenix and pretty soon Texas. So we've done a lot of good by modeling this building, putting the feelers out there in the world, having people watch webinars like this, and then finding talent in cities that we're not in, who've watched it just like you're watching it now, so maybe you're the next talent. So creating that, or finding that talent, or having that talent find us, and then cultivating that to the point where we have real estate investing communities popping up just like this all over the country. That's why we're doing what we're doing online. Okay, so let's talk about that. Now that we've got our intention with expansion, let's talk about how that's going to help you, right? Because we're already doing great. This meeting here, this introduction, is now for you. Okay, the way that we have actually helped individuals, and keep in mind, everything that I talk about right here online here will be happening live for you when you say, you know what, I'm in, I want to be a student, let's get going. You will plug and play into our group. If there is a building close to you, we will let you know. If there's a situation close to you that you should be working with locals from our group, you're gonna communicate with us live and through conference calls. We're gonna be your mentor, so we'll let you know. However, you don't need to. If for some reason we want to take you from your situation where you're currently at and build something in that area, maybe even around you, you will actually play with us in this building on a weekly basis. So what you're taking a look at right now is the schedule that we're keeping for the real estate side of things. You'll see the Thursday night schedule. We have essential study groups that last 6 months, fix and flip study groups that last 6 months, buy and hold study groups that last 6 months, and those buy and hold study groups will then go into multifamily study groups, which will last 6 months. So we're talking about a 2-year program that you will begin. The minute you say, I'm in, you will actually begin a live interaction with the #1 location in the country we're sitting in right now. Cool. On top of that, the IOS stands for Investor Operating Systems. That's how you'll start your career with us. Velocity Banking is a free training that we give anybody on amortized debt and how to get out of that soon, because student loans, car loans, mortgages are very evil debt. We'll talk about that today and why you might want to get out of it. And then you'll see some other stuff on there. We do have Q&As, so don't worry. The stuff that you're going to drum up some questions probably from this meeting. In fact, you should. Intelligent people do. And you'll bring those back to a live Q&A, or you'll watch a recording, and then you'll get on the line with myself or my wife or Eric, you've heard about, and we'll communicate with you live. So our goal is to create partners that we work with personally. That's our intention, right? So we're not talking about you being part of a machine. We're talking about you starting to work with people, okay? All right. The next slide you see is actually, I took this screenshot off my Facebook page to explain the possibilities. This young man that you see on the screen right here, his name is Daniel Kwok. This young man came to us when he was 20 years old. Today he's 24 years old. There's really 2 figures in this picture that I want you to see, and pictures are worth 1,000 words, right? There's Dan Kwok, who is the young kid, and then there's the guy in blue on the top picture. His name is Eddie Kirch. Danny Kwok is standing in front of 24 units that he just closed in the title company in the picture underneath it. Okay, so this is the reality that's happening in our group. The guy in blue, Ed Kirch, actually has been in real estate for 30 years. So let's talk about this. I want to show you how somebody that doesn't know anything about real estate benefits, and how professionals that might be watching this could benefit, okay? Which are coming from two different extremes. You with me? So when Dan Kwok came in, he went through his essential study group, then he went through his fix and flip study group, started doing wholesaling and fix and flip, then he went through his buy and hold study group, and then he's doing rental properties one door at a time, and then eventually gets into his 6-month study group with multifamilies, interacting with Ed and the possibility out there, and there he is standing in front of his 24 units that he closed in that title company. He's definitely benefiting. Let's talk about Ed Kirch. When I met Ed Kirch, Eddie was a different story altogether. He had heard about this building for 5 years as a 30-year professional. So he's running a brokerage and a property management company in a town close to our building here. And a friend of his had come down to the building, loved what he heard, just like you're gonna love it, goes away, talks to Eddie that week and says, Ed, have you heard about this building in Downers Grove, Illinois that's doing some great stuff with real estate? And Ed says, yeah, they're probably scamming people. And I'd stay as far away from that building as possible. So this guy, Mark, says, I don't know, Ed, you should probably come and check it out. So Eddie came down to the building and this intro meeting that you're experiencing to convince his friend or punch the holes in the situation for his friend so his friend isn't making a mistake. Good friend, Ed was, actually. After the meeting, and keep in mind, Mark had left Eddie that night because we have something else for Mark to do. He doesn't just come to this meeting, he actually moves into his career. So Mark is actually moving further into his career as Eddie's watching what's going on in this room. You understand? So at the end of the meeting, Ed walks up to me and says, hey man, this is a good meeting. How much did you get paid for running it? I could probably do some public speaking. I've run a RIA, I'm professional. I might want some checks for doing the speaking. I'm like, well, technically, Ed, I didn't get paid a dime. In fact, I invested money and pay a $10,000 to $12,000 a month bill to have the doors open so that you could sit down. He said, why do you do it? I go, well, it's an ecosystem, right? So all the resources, there's professionals like you have walked in, properties have walked in that I've bought, all the deals that I have currently today have walked into the building and I purchased them from somebody that was wholesaling them, a student. The collaborations I needed to get stuff done, walked in the building. I said, it's almost like the field of dreams. If you build it, they'll come. And he goes, okay, I see it. But he was curious because we didn't ask him for any money. Does that make sense? He's like, there's no closing tables like we had at my RIA. I'm like, oh yeah, we're not here to take it, but intelligent people don't make decisions right away. The intelligent people do some research. They create questions, right? Impulsive people make decisions right away, and you should never be impulsive. He goes, I like that. So he comes back the next week, he goes to the Velocity banking session, which I think you should come to in our building here, even if it's through a camera. And he sits down, and after the Velocity banking, he comes to me, he says, can we grab some food across the street? I'm like, sure. So we go across the street, and this is a guy who's been in the industry for 30 years. He looks at me, he goes, I've never seen anything like that. He goes, you're helping people clear their mortgages away in 5 to 7 years. We're talking about 30-year mortgages in 5 to 7 years, and they don't have to give any extra money to the bank. And nobody has ever actually brought that up. I've never thought about it myself. I haven't seen anything like that. He goes, that will change my business right there, the 2 hours I just spent. This was the second week he came back, right? I said, absolutely, bring all your agents. We'll actually create more business for you based on what you just saw. And he did. The third week he comes back, he experiences the building again. He goes, I've seen enough. I'm ready to become a student. So here's a guy, 30 years in the industry, becomes a student. He goes through a whole year of study groups with us. And then after that year, we have dinner and he says, I want to help you guys out. I want to help everybody out. He goes, I want to run the buy and hold and the multifamily study group based on my background. And that's exactly what he did. So Eddie, you'll notice he's in the picture on the bottom at the closing, right? So there's Ed next to Dan in the red shirt at the closing. Now here's the important thing, is his business benefiting? As a broker at the closing, does he make money? Of course he does. He's a professional, he deserves money. Who's gonna manage that 24 units after their purchase? Right, Ed's property management company. Next to Eddie in that closing is an attorney. That guy is actually one of our students too. Came in the back of the room, sits down like all the real estate professionals, their arms crossed, wondering what the heck's going on. And he became a student, went through all the study groups, and now he's benefiting by being in that closing. So if you're a professional on the line here, you may want to think about helping us open up a situation in your city that we could organically create your clients through, right? So you can attract other professionals and almost make it, ready for this? Write this down. If you want to know exactly what we've done out of this building and around the country, we're creating real estate ecosystems where professionals' businesses are getting better. What I learned from Eddie about what he's doing with us is simply this. I'm creating my clients. I don't have to wait for them to walk in. And I'm creating people that don't have bad habits in real estate. Isn't that fantastic? So his business is better because he came down, saw what we're doing, and then plugged in and helped. You guys with me on that? So if you're a professional online watching this right now, you may want to think about that, because we're looking to open up situations. What better way to open up a situation than around your business and the network of business owners that you currently have? Isn't that great? We'll talk about tonight. Hopefully tonight you'll see, or today you'll see exactly why that will be powerful for you. What you guys are coming to see here on this video is basically just an opportunity. It's a set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. We're hoping, if you're already doing real estate, taking your real estate game to the next level, kind of with the information I just gave you. But if you've never done real estate like I did, my wife and I, we actually lost our ability to pay for our place downtown over Michigan Avenue. We lost our ability to pay for a place in South Beach, right? So we had lost a lot of stuff, including I used to make $212,000 a year as an executive in charge of 4 states, and I lost that. Right, so I was coming down here because I was actually looking for my next step in life, and I wanted to be real estate. So I was coming down desperate, unemployed, all that stuff. Well, I don't know how you're coming in. That's how I came in. The screen that you're looking at right now, the name of the company that has really helped me do real estate, the classes that we have taken are being piped out of a server out of Utah from this company, right? I checked out some other stuff and other real estate investing education companies. Just when I landed here, this absolutely was the best one, because they weren't going to leave me. They gave me classes for life, and they gave me a support system like nobody else had. So it was just one I chose. All right. A disclosure, I am an independent marketing affiliate with that last company you just saw. In fact, when I say there's a good chance you could make 6 figures this year working with us, that is what you're going to make the 6 figures on while you're learning the real estate. Cool? In fact, when the 20-year-old stepped up and said, hey, I can make 6 figures, I'm like, yes, you can make 6 figures on this by inviting people to this situation. If for some reason they'd like to join us, you will be compensated. Okay? I am an independent marketing affiliate. Disclaimer, the only license that I have is a driver's license. I'm not a broker, I'm not an agent, I'm not an accountant, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a financial planner. In fact, I don't even need a driver's license to own the properties that I own today. So keep that in mind. You don't need any specific licenses to be a real estate investor. We can just get you taught up and get you going. The intellectual property that you're taking pictures of, if you're doing so, is not yours. It is Renatus's and ours. We put the PowerPoint together. The intention of this meeting here today is 2 reasons: education services and the independent marketing affiliate. What does that mean? Real estate and making money right away. Real estate, making money. That's it. We're going to describe the real estate aspects of things and making money. Cool. And the way that I'm going to go over the education services is by training, by doing some trainings here that even if you never come back, you'll probably get something out of. All right. Okay, so let's get into this. The real estate progression that a lot of us go through, in fact, I went through, is on the screen right here. But it also talks about how you come to this meeting. So when I bring this slide up in front of a room, I'm like, okay, everybody in the room fits onto this slide right now. Some people are employees or unemployed. Some people are self-employed, like Uber drivers or agents. Some people are business owners, like contractors that have crews working in houses that they're not in. And some people are investors, which just using their money to make money. Now, there's 2 types of investors when it comes to real estate. It's the ones that we meet that are doing well, that want to do better. And there's the ones that do have money, they have a financial planner, but they want to get rid of the financial planner because they're getting single-digit returns and they want to start getting double-digit returns, okay? I like both, obviously, but I've helped a lot of folks, the latter folks, where they retire from a job. They're like, hey, I want to take my money and use it. I just want to make sure I'm doing it and I know what I'm doing, right? So I don't know how you're vectoring into this group. Are you vectoring in retired with some type of resources to use and you're ready to go? Are you vectoring in as a business owner and you want to do some real estate, knowing how to run a business? Are you vectoring in because you're self-employed, you can't ever have a boss, you want to take your game to the next level through real estate? Or are you vectoring as an employee, like I was, never wanting getting out of the job, never wanting having another job again? I can tell you this, because of the 2 components, the making money right away and the real estate, my wife and I have never needed a job since we came down to this meeting. Now, keep in mind, we were both unemployed and desperate when we got down here. We were looking for a way to make money. And we've never needed a job since we come down here because of the 2 components, okay? Let's talk about why you're here. So the last slide is who's in the room. let's talk about why you might be in the room. And I'm gonna do it through the 4 currencies. Now, there are only 4 currencies on the planet. If somebody says there are more, you can fight them after this little training. But the nice thing about this training is, when I came down here for money, and that's it. That's all I had, and I'm like, money. I definitely need some money. Got to feed a kid. Got to feed a wife. Got to pay some for a roof. Money. So I was without money because I'd lost everything, and I'm looking for money. What I didn't realize in 38 years of living were that I was actually working with 3 other currencies to get money. Okay, and I love the fact that we go over this training every single week, because I can see the faces as I go over this. There's a lot of faces that are reacting to a new awareness, if you would. Would you guys agree that money's a currency? Yeah, you take $5 down to McDonald's, get a Happy Meal. Do you guys agree that time's a currency? That's right. Employees use time the most as a currency. They give up their entire lives until they need a hip replacement in their late 60s or early 70s. How about knowledge? You guys agree that knowledge is a currency? Yeah, you're right. So the more you know, the more you're worth. Doctors should make more than customer service agents because of what they've learned and how they can help you. Customer service agents just need to know how to read a script. $10 an hour. Does this make sense? And what about relationships? You guys agree that that's a currency? Let's talk about that for a second, because that's when I do these meetings live. A lot of folks I don't know, relationship is a currency. Let's show you how you use relationship as a currency right now. If you have any kind of loan or line of credit or something, if you're working with a bank in some capacity, your credit score is your relationship score with the entire banking industry. If you walk into a bank and say, hey, I'm looking for some dough, they're gonna pull up you're gonna give them your social, they'll pull up your credit score, and they're like, hey, you have treated all of our buddies really good. Welcome to the club, we got some money for you. If you haven't treated all their buddies really good, they're gonna kick you out of the bank. Does that make sense? Now, let's take that to another level. So that's banking, and you guys all, oh yeah, that's obvious, Scott. Let's talk about the next level. What about your friends and family? Do you have a credit score with your friends and family? Think about this. Is there somebody in your life that you would never trust a pet or a child to for a weekend in your life? You're right? You guys are like, yeah, I do love that person, can hang out, but I never give them something that needs to be fed or watered, for that matter, right? So that's your relationship score with your friends and family. Now, you have one of those, and I'll tell you this. When I came down to this meeting, a lot of people in my life had seen me become very successful in corporate American sales, and then seen me lose it all. So when I walked into family functions, they were like, oh, we're praying for you. Is life any better? And I'm like, So when I became a real estate investor and they asked me that question, I'm like, oh yeah, we're doing great. We found something new. Like, oh, you found a job? I'm like, oh no, we are now real estate investing. Now here's what they would hear. They would say, oh, well, we thought you were broke. I'm like, oh, I am broke. And I admitted it. I'm broke. And they're like, well, how are you doing real estate? Now, let me show you how this works. They didn't know how to do real estate without money or credit, but I was learning how to do real estate without money or credit. So I explained to them how I was wholesaling properties without using money or credit, and there are people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s that had never heard of that before. So my new knowledge created a better relationship. They're like, oh, wow, you're smarter than a lot of people I know. So my knowledge created a new relationship with the people that were pitying me. Does this make sense? So my currency went up in my knowledge, and my currency went up in my relationship. I was closer to working with them in real estate, even with their resources, because they realized I knew what I was doing. Do you think about it ever like that? Let's talk about the most valuable currency on here. Time is the most valuable currency. In fact, I believe that if you had bank accounts that were big enough, you'd never go to work, right? And I want to talk about that time being the currency that you should be here for. You have kids, you have family members, you have Italy waiting for you, going to Spain, Germany, wherever you want to travel to, waiting for you. Unfortunately, you got a job getting in the way. Okay, disclaimer. It's time to actually talk about your future in a common sense way. Okay, that's why we have this disclaimer. A lot of the stuff that I'm about to show you is going to trigger your BS meters. Right? You're gonna be like, oh, come on, really? Come on, you know it. That's why you actually go to every meeting like this. So let's talk about this. I believe that 5% of the people that watch this are going to hit the kind of financial goals they really want to hit. And I'm not saying that because I know you. I don't know you. I'm saying that because 5% of the world controls 95% of the wealth in the world. And 95% of the humans in the world are working for some of that 5% that those people are kicking out. And you might think that's evil. That's just organic, right? It's just the way to go. So because it takes work, because it takes commitment, because it takes failing and then succeeding after you measure, a lot of folks just don't want to do that. They just want to sit in a cubicle and get paid for showing up, and they give up their entire lives to do it, right? I don't know if that's going to be you in the future. I'm hoping that I can affect as many people's lives like mine was affected when I got down here. That's it. So this disclaimer simply says, unless you work, you ain't gonna make it. All right, do me a favor, take a picture of this. This is the blueprint, right? And let's make life simpler than we normally make it. What I mean by that is simple. We're trying to figure out how to become successful. Like, there's all these ideas and you see rich people like, oh, how do you do it? Let's make it simple. There's people that are doing well, and there's people that are not doing so well. So let's take the focus for it. What we got to focus on from now on is different than maybe what you focused on in the past. And I'm gonna speak for myself. When I got down here, I was literally focused on low financial efficiency stuff. I woke up every single morning in debt. And the reason I got in traffic and I went to a boss under these fluorescent lights and dealt with politics was because if I didn't get up and go to work, I'd lose my house, my car, and my wife. Period. So I woke up negatively fear of loss every single morning. Then, at the end of the week, when I got my check, funny thing, gremlins would come in and chew off 40% of it. I don't know if that happens for you, but income taxes were taken out before I touched my check. Then I got a net check at the end of the week. I would go buy liabilities. I'd go buy electricity. I'd buy some internet. I'd buy a house. I'd buy cars. All expenditures. These are liabilities that aren't paying me. I'm just paying for them so I can have them. And then the reason all that happened was because somebody in my life, parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, professors, told me that, hey, this is how life works, kid. You learn some stuff and then you get a job and you make some fixed income all year long and then maybe get a raise or a promotion or a different job and you get a little bit more money. And then you do that again all week long. And really the purpose I had every single week, I wasn't trying to change the world at my job. I was just trying to get a check at the end of the week. That was it, right? When I got down here, there was a shift. There was a different vibration in the group when I walked in. I was resistant to it because you know how you are when you're not doing that good and then you meet happy people. Yeah, I was a little resistant. But what I realized when I actually just let it come in was that these people were focusing on high financial efficiency stuff, right? They weren't fighting traffic anymore. They were out of debt, so they didn't need to really feed a debt monster. Clear that away. How would you like to get rid of the house debt? How would you like to get rid of the car debt, student loan debt, right? How would you like to actually live a life where you're the bank instead of answering to a bank? Well, we're going to talk about that. That's so exciting for you. Then from there, write-offs. How would you, instead of having the government tell you how much you owe in taxes, how would you like to tell the government how much you owe in taxes? How would you like that? And what would be the preferred number? Okay. Liabilities. Instead of paying for stuff, how would you like to get paid for stuff? I'm talking about your cell phone paying you. I'm talking about your cars paying you. I'm talking about your kids paying you. I'm talking about your house paying you. And then after that, after the house that you live in paying you, how about multiple houses after that paying you? How's that sound? I know you're like, how's that gonna work? All right. Finally, what we should start with, what you have to start with is new and controlled income. If my parents would have presented a different idea in this capacity, everything else would change, which means that my kids' lives are changing because I'm already there. New and controlled income is something that you do that you've never done before, make money on it, and then you measure and then you get better. Does that make sense? So the first time I did a wholesale deal, it was hard. I was like dotting the I's, crossing the T's, asking for lots of help, right? So we got that one done, and then the second one was like, yeah, this is easier. So why not work on 2 or 3 at the same time? My wife and I did one short sale, and we're like, hey man, we got to figure it out. Let's work on, at one point, work on 12 at the same time because we got loss mitigators that we got short sale packages and loss mitigators, 12 at a time. So what we're talking about is you learning how to do something new and then be able to do more than one. Does this make sense? Okay, so when it comes to new and controlled income, we actually have 2 streams of income, 2 new incomes coming into your life that we're suggesting that you could be a part of with this group. One is very obvious. You came here through real estate or a real estate idea. It's real estate. okay? There's different levels of real estate investing you'll progress through. The other is an invite. What do you mean by invite, Scott Rowe? Well, we already talked about the IMA thing, the independent marketing affiliate. I already disclosed that I am an independent marketing affiliate with this company. Anybody can be an independent marketing affiliate with the company. So let's talk about that for a second. When I suggest that you can make 6 figures annually, or when I say it in front of every room, 6 figures annually, what I'm suggesting is if you invite somebody to this webinar, you can invite somebody to this recording that you're watching, or you can invite somebody to a live local situation that we have in some city. And if they sit back and are like, you know what, this is interesting, I think I want to get my questions answered, and then we answer their questions, you could get paid $1,000 to $10,000 per person that you invite that wants to get started with us. Isn't that incredible? So when the 20-year-old heard that, he's like, even if I'm 20, I'm like, anybody can make that money starting next week. In fact, you could decide that you're not even interested in real estate investing and still get paid to work with us in that capacity. It's pretty great. So I'm going to show you the next slide here. So watch what pops up here. Now, I don't know if there's any attorney generals watching. I don't know if there's any federal regulators watching. If I showed you my income without actually getting somebody interested in that, then it would be enticement. However, if we go to the FTC's website, and I've actually put this on the screen, you should not start with anybody in any kind of business relationship unless you're sure that they're doing well enough or headed or in a place that you want to be. Because if for some reason you started doing business, somebody's in a place you don't want to be, or you're doing better than they are already, you're actually detracting from your life, right? So what we've done, you can check out the URL, the web address is right there in the top, so take a picture of that right there. It's at the ftc.gov site. And here are 10 questions that you should ask people that you're about to do business with. And I want to highlight one question so that we can actually clear this away, and then we can get to the answer for you. Because I know you probably want to know how much money I make, right? Well, how much money do you make? I get this question all the time in live rooms. And because the FTC says I should answer that, you should ask it, let's talk about that. All right, what you're looking at on the screen right now, remember that Renatus name? Remember seeing the Renatus name? Let's just make it bigger. See that on the top left? The little Santa Hannah? On the top right, you're going to see my name. And what you're looking at is actually the earnings that I've gotten paid, and we'll actually give you the timing. So if you look on the bottom, earned to date, you're going to see $3,828,000 and some change. That number, and this is accurate to this date this webinar is being done, we have not needed a job because this group gave us the opportunity to actually invite people down and help them change their life too, and we got paid to do that, okay? Now that's pretty good. Let me talk about the last 10 weeks though. If you take a look at the shown on page number, which is $162,000, we get paid twice a week. So on September 25th, we got paid, then they paid us 3 days later, then they paid us 4 days later, then they paid us 3 days later, and what that's telling you is we get paid every Tuesday and Friday. So will you if you start inviting people that want to start. You invite somebody here to this webinar, to a building, and they're like, I want to get started, and here's what I want to do at this company, you'll actually get paid. Sound good? So let's scroll up. From September 25th until 11:30, now the key is the dates. How many weeks is that? It's about 72 days, which turns out to be about 10 weeks. So in the last 10 weeks, my wife and I have earned $162,000. Now, ready for this? Our first 12 months with this group, this company, we got paid $159,000. And the reason I think that's significant, what I'm bringing up to you, is because we're going to go back to the new and controlled income. Okay? So we made $159,000 our first 12 months, and then we sat down and said, hey, how can we make more money? There are cameras in every single room in this building that we actually do live stuff with students. We can only fit 200 people in this room, but we can fit an infinite amount of people online. And that was one of those systems. So, okay, so we made so much money the first year, how can we make more? Now, here's the nice thing for you. We've already created all those systems. You don't have to. They already came out of our brains, have been masterminded, been rolled around. Are we inviting you to help us with that? Absolutely. We could always use more help. So think about that. If you're interested in making money starting next week, you could make 6 figures this year and then have new and controlled income to the point where you're doing $162,000 every 10 weeks too. All right. The other new and controlled income is all based in real estate. Okay, if you're not already doing it, that becomes new. If you are already doing it, let's give you new ways of making even more money in the industry that you're currently making money in. All right. So next slide. Let's talk about, take a picture of this. This pie chart represents what you're currently going through with what I like to call the oligarchy of America. We are nothing more than designed human resources for the banks, the corporations, and the government. Okay? Our lives and our currencies are being given away to these entities so that we can actually exist. I want to change that. Let me talk about the living and the taxes for a second. I would get up every single morning and I would spend 2 hours in the morning before I got to work. 1 hour getting ready to be a vice president. The second hour I'd spend in traffic, going from downtown to the western suburbs where my office was, took me an hour in traffic. I don't know what traffic is like in your area, but for us, it's an hour here in Chicago. So I would give up 2 hours of my currency, my time currency, for $0 every single morning. And I had planned on doing that until I didn't have a job anymore. Right? And I found this place. All right, so ready for this? It gets worse. So 2 hours getting there. Then I would spend 4 hours in the morning working my butt off. So I'm on the hamster wheel. I'm spinning, right? But how much of that money did I get to keep? Zero. And I'll tell you why. We are an indentured servant to our government. The first few hours that I gave in the morning were actually taken away in income tax before I touched my check. Probably done for you too. So they took away 3 to 4 hours a morning on my income check. If they took away 3, the fourth one went for gas and the tax on the gas, tax on the food, tax on the clothing, tax on the property. And lots of taxes out there. So my first 4 hours of the job, what I realized was I was giving all that up. My currency of time wasn't producing something I could take home. So you got 2 hours in the morning getting there, 4 hours at the job not making any money. Then I go to lunch for an hour, and you're on a leash around the office. You can't go anywhere but the office, right? And you're spending money. So what are we looking at? Looking at 2, 4, and then another 1. That's 7 hours before you start actually making money every day. Then you come back from lunch. You make 4 hours of money for your family. Then you get back and road rage for an hour, and you sit down in your chair. And you know, you escape with your beer, and you do that for 50 years of your life. Unless you know it, you don't think about it. So tomorrow when you go to work, I want you looking at the clock going, he's right. And when you get sick and tired of that relationship, you might want to consider a new one. We've helped a lot of people change those relationships with our group around the country. All right, let's talk about the interest for a second. I want to talk about interest because I believe that one of the most evil things that happen to us as Americans is what the banks have done to conspire against us and our money, okay? And let's talk about this. I was sitting in a meeting in Seattle not too long ago, and I brought this slide up, and a guy in the back, sharp dressed, raises a hand, and he says, hey, if you're suggesting that you're paying 33% in interest, I shouldn't have been watching this meeting. And I'm like, oh, I'm not, sir, but you probably are. He goes, no, I'm not. He was in denial. And I said, well, what's your interest? Do you have a mortgage? He goes, yeah, I got a mortgage. 30 years? Yes. And I said, well, what's your interest rate on that mortgage? He goes, 3.5%. And because I know about this stuff now, I didn't know it back then. I was as ignorant as he was. Because I know now, I'm like, well, you're spending more than that in interest on that mortgage, 3.5, more than 33%. You're paying more than 33% on that mortgage. He goes, no, I'm not. So I asked him, I said, do you know how to figure out a mortgage based on the interest rate of your loan? He goes, yeah, 3.5. I go, no. Do you know can you tell me what your principal to interest ratios are based on the number that you just gave me? And he asked me this. He goes, do you need to know how much my loan is? I go, doesn't matter. 100,000, million, doesn't matter. I'm talking about the ratios at the end when you pay it. How much interest do you pay at the end of that 30-year mortgage? I don't know, but it's not that big. I'm like, it is. Now here's the equation that you're gonna get. Take this number, whatever your interest rate on your mortgages, your car loans, your student loans are all amortized. Multiply by 2 and then add a 0. So in that case, when he said 3.5, I multiplied by 2 in my head, I said 7, and then I added a 0 and it came out to be 70%. So I understood that he was gonna pay 70% principal to interest rate. 70% of his principal is what he's going to pay when he's finished paying that loan. But he didn't know that. Neither did I when I sat down. You guys ready for this? It's going to be hard for you guys to take. let's talk about the consumers. Let's talk about us as consumers. When we sit down with a lender, and that lender, we're like, hey, I'd like to get a loan. My wife and I, we just got a new house for $200,000. Want to know exactly what kind of rate we can get? And they pull up our credit. Well, let's pull up your credit score. Hey, congratulations, consumer. We've got you a 5% rate. What's the next question from the consumer on this side of the desk 9 times out of 10? Oh, you know it, right? You just said it in your head. Oh, how much is my monthly payment? Because we have been taught by this oligarchy to think about our lives every 30 days. And we were taught like through conditioning. Your student loans, your house loans, your car loans, your insurance payments, your electric payments, your phone payments, every payment you have is every 30 days. So that's how you live life. I gotta survive every 30 days, so I gotta pay every 30 days. Anything I'm gonna take out new, I gotta budget every 30 days. We don't think about our lives. We don't pump the football down the field. We're just thinking about 10 yards at a time. And that's unfortunate. Because if we were thinking about it down the field, we'd create a better life for our kids. Let's take a look at this. Here's what I know. That guy's paying 70% interest, and this is why. You see this graph on your screen right now? What you're looking at right now is the graphical representation of a truth in lending statement. You know the statement in the back of the loan where they put all the figures and it's like, oh, I don't know how to figure that out, so just let me sign this loan and get my house. They do it for a reason, so everything in the back is mystical and you can't figure it out, just so emotionally you're attached to signing. But if a lender put this in front of you and explained what was going on, you might reconsider and walk out. That's why they don't. So what you're looking at is the graphic representation of a 5% mortgage, 5% interest rate on a 30-year mortgage at $200,000. You'll notice on the zero side, you're actually paying 75% interest because the red is how much house you're paying and the blue is how much profit the bank's making. So that's 75% interest on that first payment. If you pay for 5 years, look at that graph. You pay for 5 years in, you're at 66% interest. You're still paying way more interest than you're getting house. Now you'll notice that if you go down the line here, that there's a red line right in the middle or close to the middle. That is when things shift. So technically that red line is you guys are splitting, you're paying half of the payments coming towards your house and half the payments going towards the bank in interest. And then it starts shifting to the point where you start winning. But let me tell you something, the banks didn't want you to win. They came up with this really crazy product. So you pay for your mortgage for 5 years and guess what happens? You're gonna get some type of correspondence in the mail. It's gonna say, hey, congratulations, Joe. You've paid on time for 5 years and you qualify. And that qualification makes you feel really good. Oh, look, I qualify for a refi. You said it, you know it. So what they're gonna invite you to do is, and they're gonna put it in your 30-day brain language. They're like, hey, if you come and take advantage of this requalification, we're gonna adjust your interest rates. We're gonna lower your interest rates and you're gonna save $100 a month or $150 a month or $200 a month. And in your brain, you're like, wow, if I don't have to give that $200 a month to the bank, I can do something else with it. You think it's a savings. But what they're going to do is we're going to adjust it right back to the zero line so that their next payment pays for less house than your future payment would have paid. And how many people do you know that have refied out 1, 2, 3, 4 times? To the point where when they go back to get that other refi, the bank's like, well, you're a little too old to get refi. We've got this other great program for you called a reverse mortgage. Well, we already know how much we're gonna buy your house for. We're gonna buy all that equity. And we plan on you dying before that happens, so we're gonna get even more equity. And this is your banking industry. Cool? Now, let me give you some advice. It's not advice I'm gonna give you here. I don't have time to do this training. What you should do is come back to one of our Velocity banking sessions, and you could come to it right here in this building on a Thursday night. Let us know. Let us know that you wanna come to that thing, and we can put you in that room right over here, and you can actually sit there on your computer, watch us show you live exactly how that works, and you'll be blown away. The only thing, here's what we do. We make sure that the people in that room bring a bowl. They have to bring a Tupperware bowl or a glass bowl, or sometimes they bring a Chinese, sushi, whatever, a little black and clear thing. Because your brain is going to explode in that room, and we want to make sure that it doesn't ruin your floor. Does that make sense? So, of course, that doesn't really happen. We just make that joke so you laugh and I laugh. It's my favorite joke in the meeting. All right. The point is, what you experience in that training, the Velocity banking training, is the same thing that Eddie Kirch experienced the night he came after 30 years of being in the industry and came out and says, I've never seen anything like that. I'm bringing all my agents. We're going to create more business because of what I just learned. I've helped people get into mortgages, and I'm going to help them get out of mortgages. So you may want to learn exactly how to get out of your amortized debt quick within 7 years. How about paying this off in 7 years with 2/3 less interest? Which, and let me give you some stats. You're done with this loan in 7 years. This loan you're looking at pays $186,000 in interest. If you come back to Velocity Banking, you're going to see exactly how you're only going to pay $52,000. You're going to save over $130,000 in interest, and you're not going to have to make any additional payments to the bank. You're just going to establish a new relationship with the bank. You're going to walk down and say, hey, I know what you're doing with me, and here's what we're going to do new. Cool? I'm inviting you to come back completely free, get to the Velocity Banking session. All right, next slide. Did you take a picture of the last slide? Let me tell you something. If my wife would have shown me this, if she just said, hey, if she'd have come home and said, hey, this is our life now, and if we hang out with these wealthy real estate investors, our life could be this, I'd have run down to the meeting. I would have asked them to start a new meeting so I could come and see it earlier. And I'll tell you what, how would you like to actually make 80% of your money take home and only have to pay 10 and 10, 10 to the bank and 10 in taxes? Would that be worth your next year of your life? In fact, 8 weeks. After 8 weeks after I started working with this group, we had converted our life from the big pie chart to this pie chart. Let's talk about that today. Now, what I'm about to show you is my Tupperware Bowl moment for you today. So I want to cover the taxes, and here's what I believe. I believe you should know more about taxes because you're already paying them, so that when you start making more money in real estate, you're not giving it away. We'll talk about real estate next. But even if you don't want to be a real estate investor, we can help you pay less in taxes. You guys got this? Take a picture of the screen. This is called the tax matrix. All right, now that you've taken a picture, let me back it off and do the training. Okay, there are two, we'll talk about high financial efficiency and low financial efficiency. High financial efficiency folks don't pay the kind of taxes, well, those are wealthy folks. They don't pay the kind of taxes as poor people, right? And it really starts, the difference is 2 words. You either control stuff or you own stuff, period. That's it. Control or own. Let's talk about what you have to control or own first. We start with cash flow. You are either signed up on at your job through your Social Security number. So if you sign up with your Social Security number for your cash flow, you own your cash flow. I have not done that in over 7 years, right? So I haven't gotten a check in my name in over 7 years. What I am getting it through is an EIN number. So I'm actually earning all of the money that I earn today is controlled into a company bank account. So 100% comes in off of rents. Even the money that I showed you earlier, the $3.8 million that we've earned, comes in and goes into a bank account, business bank account first, right? The cool thing about it, and you guys will get this, if a renter, hold on a second, if a renter gets up out of their rental situation to pay their rent to me, is the IRS outside the door going, oh, is that going to that Scott guy? Give me 1/3 of that check and I'll take the rest down to the property management company. Or does 100% of the rent check go to the property management company and into a business bank account? All right, so you get the answer, right? Okay, so I changed my life to make sure that I got all the money first instead of having the government get between me and my money. If you're interested, you'll do the same thing. Let's talk about why. On the income tax side, an average person is going to pay 33% in income tax before they even see their net check. That was me. On the top side, I'm suggesting it's 0. So how would you like to have all of the money that you've created through a company go straight into a bank account ready for you to use? And that's really the difference. The difference is you're either spending money or you are using money. Okay? Now, let's make this very simple. Let me show you how much of an expert on taxes you already are. Do you have a cell phone? Oh, you do? Whose name is on that cell phone? What I mean by it is when we go to like your carrier, like AT&T or T-Mobile or something, did you sign the docs and now you have a cell phone? Okay. In order for you to possess a cell phone, you would have had to make money to pay for that cell phone first, or the IRS would be very interested in how you have a cell phone without income, right? So you have to make money first in your name in order to have a cell phone in your name. You guys with me on that? Do you have a car? You do? All right, who pays for that car? Oh, you do? Who pays for the insurance? Oh, you do? Who pays for the gas? You do? Oh, who pays you back on that? Anybody? Oh, no, why not? If you say you don't know, that's a currency. You're bankrupt in a currency because 95% of the people in the world don't know this stuff. Stay right there. See this cell phone? Whose name do you think this cell phone's in? I'll bet you guys guessed my company right away. Look how much you already know, right? You know this stuff. You're just not, you're not playing with it, right? You know there's a tennis racket and what to do with it. You're just not playing tennis. Let's play some tennis. So yeah, my company's name isn't, who pays for the bill? My company does. I still use it, and I use it to make money. We have 6 vehicles today, 2 Escapes, a Fiat, a Jaguar, even a Italian supercar, and a company van, but we don't own those vehicles. The companies own them. That way the insurance is paid by the company, the gas paid for by the company. I don't have to make money to drive those cars. I get to choose the one I want to drive, but they're all owned by the company. Let's take it a step further for real estate. Is it possible to use the Velocity banking session to pay off your house early and then quit claim the house to the company or sell the house to the company? In my case, I'd quit claim it because I don't want to create a taxable event. I understand real estate. All right, let's take it a step further. Life tax, either going to be on the bottom, you paying it, or your company's going to pay it. Let me talk about this. You know, the policemen and the firefighters and the teachers at your sons and daughters' schools, they got to get paid, right? So you're either paying it through property taxes that you live in, or the properties that your company owns is paying it. So those very important things in life are still getting paid. Sales tax, your company can pay it or you can pay it. Choose your company to pay it so you don't have to pay it. Does that make sense? Okay, let's talk on the bottom. The bottom, you make 100% of your own money. You get 33% taken off before you touch your check in income tax, 50% in expenditures, that's just to live a life. Then you get 10% in life tax to live in the neighborhood that you live in. It means that you have about 7% left over. And here's how I would work. I'd get on the hamster wheel and work, and then take my 7% and hand it to a financial planner. And I work all week long the next week, and I hand 7% to the financial planner. And I work hard all week long, and I hand it 7%. The financial planner is actually on the golf course playing golf while I'm at work, right? He's using my money to help me retire at 70 while he's living a better life on the golf course currently. Does that make sense? It makes sense for you. It makes dollars for him. So let's change that. Let's look at the top. Top side, you generate 100% of revenues, right? You give 0 away in taxes. You use 50% on all the things you shifted up. So you're going to shift up your cell phone to the top side. You're going to shift up your cars from the bottom to the top. You're going to shift up your house from the bottom to the top. You're going to start moving it all into a controlled situation versus an owned situation. Life tax, same thing. So that you have 40% left over. That's better. Very important point right here. Your company is now going to be taxed on income on that 40%, not 100%. So let's take a look at this. On the bottom side, humans get taxed on 100% of their money before they touch it. Companies get taxed after expenses. They've touched it, they touch it more, they touch it more, they touch it more, and then finally there's an income tax that has to be taken out of what's left over. How would you like to get taxed on what's left over instead of before you touch your money? That's all you have to think. Now, at this point, you have to think to yourself, do I want to be like that 24-year-old kid who's got all those properties? And that 24-year-old kid, the Asian kid, he's got 76 doors now. Right? Do I want to be like that guy? Do I want to be like this Scott Rowe guy who's got properties and he's got income coming in, he's doing the meeting, doesn't have a job anymore, never had a job since he came down here to this meeting, even though I was broke and unemployed? So what do you want to do with your money? You want to actually make it through a company? Do you want to make it through your... Now you may ask yourself, well, Scott, I have a job. I can't really go to my job tomorrow and tell my boss how it's going to go with my pay. I'm like, you're right. However, our intention is that you make 6 figures this year. Our intention, hopefully your intention too, you make 6 figures this year so you can actually walk into the boss's office and say, I'm out of here. Because the first thing that you're going to run through a company if you work with us is that revenue that you're going to get by just helping us distribute the education. Does that make sense? So I'm a distributor of the education. I'm an independent marketing affiliate. When I invite somebody down here and they decide to take me up on the education, I make $1,000 to $10,000 every time that happens. That could happen for you. That can be run through an EIN number to the point where you don't need a job anymore. Then we've really washed this page clean. So instead of actually putting that in as income and getting hammered in taxes, why don't we put it into a cost this year? You can actually buy real estate this year, which becomes an asset next year. All right, let's talk about that. I want you to notice something about this screen. You got a lot of different boxes. You got a risk versus rewards thing. The more you know about real estate, the less risky it becomes, the more rewarding it becomes. But I want you to key in on that bottom right box. 4 levels of real estate investing. And the reason I created that box for this presentation was because you have probably gone through high school, maybe you've gone through college, and you started as a freshman, then you went to sophomore, then you went to junior, then you went to senior. Freshman level real estate investing is wholesaling properties. You do not need money or credit to do it if you learned it how I learned it. Then you move into sophomore level real estate investing, which is fix and flip. Then you move into junior level real estate investing, which is buy and hold. Then senior level real estate investing is you as the bank, the investor, okay? Let's talk about why it graphically looks that way. Ready? The reason it's freshman to senior level real estate investing is in the 2 triangles. When you are doing wholesaling, you will learn from this group how to do it without using money or credit. How to put houses under contract, you'll even get those contracts, but you won't use any money or credit, which means that your risk is nil. You'll even have 30 days where hey, if it doesn't work out in 30 days, it just doesn't work out. The work you got to put in, look at the effort. The work you got to put into wholesaling is tremendous. That's the trade-off, okay? Now, when you move into fix and flip, you're actually moving into business ownership. Business ownership has contractors working for you and has agents working for you, right? So you're actually going to work less. Take a look at the effort line. The effort actually goes down because you got contractors and realtors working for you, but your risk goes up because now you probably have a relationship and somebody else's money in play. So the risk goes up, but the effort goes down. When you get into buy and hold, your risk goes up because now you're married to a couple that's paying your rent. You're married to the physicality of the property. You're probably married to some institutionalized funds, whether it be a private investor that's going to go along with you or a bank that's going to go along with you. And if the tenants aren't paying, you still got to pay to keep the house. Does that make sense? The effort's going to go down simply because you now have mailbox money coming in, okay? And then finally, when you get into money lending, it's the greatest amount of risk, which means that if you're working in a group like ours, you should know who you're working with, and it's almost like organic underwriting. Does that make sense? Inside the ecosystem. All right, let's talk about real estate as an ideal investing strategy. I'm going to start with the A in ideal because we're going to talk about traditional investing. When you work with a financial planner, usually they got you in mutual funds, they got you in some precious metals like gold or silver. Okay, so in each of those examples that I just stated, you are in an appreciation game. You buy gold at 20 years old and you hope that by the time you're 7 years old, it's worth more. So when you cash out, you can actually realize all that cash. But with real estate, you want to make money on it while it's appreciating. Let's talk about deductions. You're running real estate investing as a business. So you're going to incur costs. You're going to have interest as deductible. Depreciation for 27 and a half years is deductible as a yield. Expenses on properties or humans like contractors, right? These are all deductions. You can actually look at paperwork for 14 hours a week as a professional real estate investor and start writing off your time. So there's lots of ways to create deductions inside of real estate that you cannot create inside of a mutual fund. Equity, it's one of my favorite. Now, remember I told you in the beginning of this meeting that there's a good shot you become a real estate millionaire in 5 years? This is why. Can I go to my financial planner and say, hey, Mr. Financial Planner, I'd like to buy some gold. Can you go find some gold for half and then get back to me? No, you're buying gold for whatever it's going for, right? Now, let me show you how good at real estate you already are. Would you suggest that I buy my next property at full price? Oh, you wouldn't? Right. You look how good you are already. You should never buy property at full price. And here's the best part. When you buy it for less than full price, you get to keep the equity as an asset on your balance sheet. So please write this down. This will be a very, very good little one-liner for you. The quickest way to become a millionaire in America is to close your way to millionaire, which means that if you buy a $200,000 house and it's got $30,000 in equity, you become worth the $30,000 that you purchased in the equity. So you bought it for 170 grand, but you walk out of the title company $30,000 richer. Isn't that great? Okay, finally, leverage. Oh, this is good. Can you and I go to the bank today and say, hey, Mr. Banker, I'd like to invest in some gold. Could you please lend me $100,000 so I can actually go buy some gold or some mutual funds? Now, here's what the banker's gonna do. They're like, hey, security, right? You come in the next day with a clearer head and you say, hey, Mr. Banker, I have a different idea than I had yesterday. I want to do this 6-unit building. Let me show you something. I want to do this 6-unit building. It's worth $400,000, but I only need $246,000. What do you think the banker will say then? can we get this man some coffee and some paperwork? Welcome to the bank. So they will take you on as a partner in that game, but they won't take you on as a partner in the mutual fund or gold game. All right, let's go back to this disclaimer. This disclaimer just says that all real estate deals aren't the same. So the one I'm about to show you is a good one. So on this particular 6 unit, which was bought at the county courthouse from a receiver, we're into it for $246,000, but it's worth $400,000. Now let me give you an idea how to fund this thing later on in your life. If you pay off your house, so let's say you pay off a $500,000 house using the velocity banking strategy. You pay off a $500,000 house, you can walk into a bank and get a 75% LTV line of credit on that house. You guys with me on that? So your own house becomes an asset you make money on, not something that costs you money. So now you got a checkbook of, I don't know, $300,000. So when you find a property like this, the house can actually write the check. You don't have to. You guys with me on that? So you write the check off the line of credit, you rehab the situation, then you get another bank to actually cash out the check, the line of credit, by actually putting you in a long-term loan. So the acquisition and rehab's $246. That's $154,000 in equity. So the minute you sign all the docs of the title company, you're worth $154,000 more than you were the day before. All right, take a picture. We're almost at the end of this thing. So myrenatus.com is the website you can go check out after this thing. So the two things. This is the company that has paid my wife and I $3.8 million to invite people in to have them become students. They pay us $1,000 to $10,000 when we invite somebody down and the person says, I want to get started as a student. They pay us. They're willing to do the same thing for you. So if you're interested in having this company pay you the same way they're paying us, then we'll give you a chance to do that, okay? But it's also the company that taught me how to do real estate investing, taught me all about the taxes, taught me how to get rid of my amortized debt. These guys taught me everything. This is the founder of the education company, I can tell you this. What he decided to do was, hey, let's make sure that we're taking care of the students instead of selling them something. There's a lot of companies that will actually come into town and sell things for 3 days. They won't stick with you. This guy created a different situation. Let's talk about that. I started with the Essentials program, right? Now the Essentials program is really 10 classes that will help you before you're a real estate investor. Okay, and if you are a real estate investor, it'll help you anyway. Watch. So you see the essentials: the velocity banking, the tax and legal 1 and 2, the self-directed retirement plans, the understanding credit. Those classes are really dedicated to your current life as a human here in America. And you'll notice that there's a bucket with a bunch of holes in it. I believe that I meet a lot of people, even wealthy people, that are bleeding money in taxes, bleeding money in their misunderstanding about credit, bleeding money in their misunderstanding about amortization. We want to clear that up so we can plug those holes. Those will be the first 5 classes. In fact, I believe you should have probably learned those classes in high school, but the government, the banks, and the corporations don't want you to know that stuff, or else you'd understand why you don't need to be a human resource. Now, after that, I believe that you probably want to do real estate for yourself. Maybe you want to buy your own house. Well, the next set of classes will help you out with that. Real Estate Foundations teaches you exactly how to not get ripped off in a closing. Real Estate Marketing will teach you how to have properties, monies, professionals finding you. Deal of the Decade will have you find properties that aren't on the MLS. I mean, you can go to a realtor and buy a property, but you're paying too much. You could buy properties that aren't on the MLS and find them. They'll teach you how to do that. Real Estate Red Flags, what should you run from? Who should you run from? It's half the battle of doing great deals. And then finally, Creative Acquisitions will teach you how to put properties under contract without using money or credit. After that, if you're interested in actually making a career of real estate investing, then you're going to go through the 4 levels of real estate investing, right? We're going to start with wholesaling. Now you're going to notice that negotiations, contracts, title, escrow. You got to negotiate a property, put it under contract, then you have to go to closing. That's core. But the strategies are wholesaling through market analysis. You're going to learn how to do wholesaling without using money or credit. It's great. Fix and flip, second level of real estate investing. You're going to notice that the core classes are exactly the same. However, we're going to change when we get to fix and flip. Fix and flip is cosmetic, carpets and paints. Rehabbing is destruction, construction, right? You take out a wall, you make it an open floor plan, right? You're learning exactly how to maneuver stuff around to make it more valuable. And then finally in fix and flip, you get the land development. Whether it's a plot of land that you buy in a subdivision or you create a subdivision, you're learning how to turn grass into bigger value. Buy and hold. You're going to learn, see the core classes are exactly the same, but then the strategy classes, buy and hold 1 and 2 when you want to be a landlord, managing property managers when you're done being a landlord, home inspections, because that's important, nightly rentals, that's your Airbnb stuff, you got your tenants and rental agreements, but the subject to, you could actually become a landlord without using money or credit. That's the subject to strategy. How would you like to do that? Multifamily, once you've learned how to buy single family homes, why don't we buy more than one door in the property, right? This whole track is dedicated to multifamilies. Then you get no tenants, no toilets or termites. This is usually where the rich people hang out with the paper. So you got lots of money, you've worked your whole life away, you've got a little bit of return, but you want to turn into bigger money and you want to become a lender, this is it right here. Notes, tax liens and deeds, seller finance notes 1 and 2, contract for deed, understanding mortgages because you could create those, being a private hard money lender. All those ideas are for the rich folks that want to actually lend their money and just deal with paper. Commercial real estate, strip malls, corporate complexes, warehousing complexes, storage units, trailer parks, churches, marinas, all that kind of stuff. Short sales, you can help people out of foreclosure and out of a bad situation while you're both benefiting, right? Win-win situations, helping people out of foreclosure and you into a real estate deal. Business management, because you're going to be running a business, you got small business payroll, you got cost segregation, private hard money, raising money in partnerships will help you stay out of jail while you're raising funds, right? Because if you do it wrong, the SEC is going to want to see you in an orange jumpsuit. Let's make sure you take a class and learn how to do it right. Each of these classes I'm going over are 8 hours, by the way. 8-hour classes that you could take on demand starting tomorrow if you wanted to. Retiring real estate. 2 years from now, I'd like to see myself done for good, which means that you will have my cell phone because you're watching this webinar. You will personally have my cell phone if you start with us. You'll have my wife's cell phone. You'll have Eric's cell phone. However, at one point, we're going to go, you know what? Let's drop the cell phones in the bucket of water and retire. So you might as well take advantage of it for 2 years and be at my retirement party. After that, I'm going to be doing this. The wealth and acceleration in real estate investing means that you might be borrowing my money because I'm a bank. You just won't know it's me. That makes sense? So this is going to be like beyond just retiring in real estate. This is going to become a bank. Okay? This is fun stuff. Let's count together. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 learning paths inside of what they call the Accelerated Investor Training Program. That's you wanting to become an investor. Plus the essentials for the folks that should just take the essentials because they're human in America, right? I believe everybody should get the essentials. You should have learned this stuff in high school. They just kept it from you because they wanted you to be a human resource, right? This gets you out of being a human resource to the people and the entities that wanted you to be. Then if you want to take on real estate investing, you get into the other stuff where you actually control properties, okay, in some capacity. Okay, so 10 learning paths. Here's how you get started. The essentials courses are $1,997. Now you're not making any decisions here today. We're just giving the information so you can create some questions and come back to our follow. So don't get freaked out. The essentials courses are $1,997. You can write that off 100%. In fact, you're going to learn how to do that in class. So don't worry about it. By law, you're already getting this money back. Congratulations. You get complimentary lifetime access, which means they'll never shut these classes off as long as Renatus is around. And they've never shut mine off. You get weekly group coaching on this thing. If you ever have any questions, you can always come to them on a weekly basis and get those questions answered for life. And you can download the audios. You can watch it on demand. You can watch it while the classes are going on. There's lots of ways to get the delivery of the education, but $1,997, you get ready for this. Remember that pie chart, the 33, 33, 33 to the 10, 10, 80? That's this right here. Plus getting into real estate initially. If you want to become a real estate investor, then you're going to take on the Accelerated Investor Training. That's the AITs. You can either take 2 paths for $5,997. You can choose any 2. You can change. You can get fix and flip and buy and hold. You can get wholesaling and the paper track. You can get commercial and foreclosures, right? You can get business management and wealth acceleration. Any 2 that you want. Okay. What I decided to do was get this program. My wife and I had a discussion, even though we were broke and unemployed and struggling. We're like, we should probably get it all because there's lifetime access to every single 10 of those, those learning paths. In fact, when we started, there were not 10 learning paths. Let me tell you how valuable this is. When we started, there was less. There was like 6. Now there's 10, and they never charge us for adding programs to our curriculum. Okay, they didn't charge us for that. That's what I love about Renatus. They're not looking to get paid. That's not they're looking to make a difference. Does that make sense? And I really felt it. Now, do they have to get paid? Yeah. There's still campus to run. There's still instructors to pay. There's still customer service. There's still all that stuff. It's still a company, right? But they aren't looking to gouge anybody. That's what I loved about it. Okay, so my wife and I, we decided to do the Essentials and the Extreme Plus, which gave us an Extreme Plus combo, which was $19,994. That's what I invested. When you get the Extreme, you also get a one-on-one coach that's gonna help you out, included, so you don't have to worry about that, and you get them for life, right? So we got every single class that we ever got, we get it for life. Any additional classes are gonna add to it, we also get as well, no extra charge. Isn't that fantastic? It does include a tuition partner or an education partner, and that education partner is your partner for life. In fact, there's a primary partner and like a stowaway, right? The stowaway does get their own login, but the primary person gets complete control. They're the ones that actually get named with the coaches and stuff like that. This person does not. So make sure that you know the person, you guys love each other, and you're going down the road together like my wife and I, okay? Okay. Live help, let's talk about that. Renatus has live, so there's a campus in Utah. My wife and I actually we didn't drive, we flew to see live classes every single year in our first year. We never missed a session, so we were in front of the instructors. You can take it like that, or you can take it on, stream it while it's going on, or you can watch it on demand. Kind of like Will and Grace. I like the show Will and Grace. I can go to the studio audience in LA and watch Will and Grace be recorded. Or I can watch it on the TV while it's going on with commercials. Or I can watch it on demand at 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's how you can interact on the delivery of Renatus between you and them. Isn't that great? It's your choice. In fact, if you sign your contracts tonight as students, you could actually take classes tomorrow morning after they approved. All right, there is also a one-on-one coach that you get for 6 sessions with the Extreme tuition. So when we got everything, they said, hey, you get a coach. Congratulations, let them know when you need them. So you get to designate, all right, I'm ready to get some coaching, and then you interact with a one-on-one coach who's gonna help you do what you need to do to be successful in what you wanna be successful in. You get group coaching. Now, group coaching comes with anything. Essentials are better. Every Tuesday evening, the great thing about it is there's no attendance being taken, so if you gotta get a question answered, just hop on. The other cool thing is you can listen to questions being asked all over the country even without having a question. So it becomes a fluid learning event that you get for life with Renatus, as long as Renatus is around. Then there's live customer service. You don't got to worry about robots. Let's talk about what we are doing for you. This building and groups around the country are building live situations so that we can actually have monthly workshops. In fact, it doesn't matter if you're on this camera or in the seat. You can participate in the workshops that we have every single month here. We have 2 a month. One is for the independent marketing affiliate thing, and one is for the real estate thing, right? So you can participate in these workshops every single month. Now, here's what we do. The workshops that we have in this building cost $50 to attend. And now they're not Renatus. Keep in mind, this is not Renatus's building. This is my building and my wife and one of my partners, okay? It's not Renatus' building. So when we charge the $50, it takes care of the rents inside of a non-for-profit that we run this building through. 501(c), just like a church. Study groups. Oh, you're gonna do study groups, man. And this is included. So you can participate in essential study groups, fix and flip study groups, buy and hold study groups. And really what it is, it's a mastermind. Everybody are taking classes and they're picking something up different. They're coming together going, oh, you picked that up? Oh, you plan on doing that? And then sometimes they go out and look at properties together, or they go to an accountant and sit down and say, hey, we need an accountant together. So working with people is motivating, right? You're actually moving with colleagues into better situations in your life. It's fun. And then finally, daily calls and webinars. Every single morning we have a call that you can hop on Monday through Thursday that we've been doing since 2008. My partner, Bob, he does a noon call every single day. So you'll have access to us. You'll be able to ask questions Monday through Thursday live on situations in case you have those questions. And then finally, property tours. We have so many people doing real estate that we actually have students featuring their deals in what we call property tours, where people come, they see the deal, they can see the numbers on the deal, they can meet the resources like the contractors and the lenders and the brokers that they used. So, working with people and seeing what they're doing inspires you to do. Make sense? But it also gets you a chance to share the resources that we're doing it with. It's awesome. All right, we've been expanding now for the last, I would say 7 years. We've had webinars going on. However, I've been traveling for the last 2 years to these different markets. Right now, as we speak, I'm doing this. I'm doing Minnesota every Tuesday night. I'm doing Washington, D.C. every Wednesday night, and then I trip to Philadelphia to do that every Thursday night. But what we have done here is through cameras that we're actually doing webinars on, people from other cities have participated out of their house, Then pretty soon we had enough going on in DC where we actually got an office. Isn't that great? And we would love to do that in your city if you're interested. If you don't currently have something going on, we can help you actually get rich putting it together. So maybe that's something you've always thought about. So just to give you an idea, we've opened up lots of situations around the idea that you've been listening to here for the last few minutes. Okay, complimentary lifetime access. If you are getting a essentials, or if you're getting the extreme tuition, or you're getting both, you will have complimentary lifetime access. That is lifetime access for as long as Renatus is around, right? So as long as the website's open and classes are being given, you get lifetime access. It will never shut off. That's what that is. There is financing available, and let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you this. It's going to be hard to believe, but anybody that's watching this is already pre-approved for financing. Congratulations. Doesn't matter what your credit score is. Doesn't matter what your financial situations. You're already pre-approved. That was good for me to hear because my wife and I were in dire straits when we saw this thing. Keep in mind, we came down here broken, unemployed. We walked out never needing a job again because they started paying us the $1,000 to $10,000. And we started doing real estate in our 3rd month. Maybe that's you. Okay. Last thing I want to talk about, new and controlled income. Let me just detail this. Remember, I told you you can actually invite people to webinars like this, or invite people to buildings that we have, and earn $1,000 to $10,000, right? That can start next week for you. Let's talk about that. Instead of actually paying TV and radio and newspapers, what Renatus decided to do was pay you. And you don't even have to be a student to take advantage of this. You could actually invite people to this situation without being a student. They're willing to pay you anyway. Isn't that great? So you don't have to pay Renatus, but they'll pay you. That was pretty crazy. Okay, so what are they willing to pay? Now you see all the programs like I showed you earlier. Let me show you. They're willing to pay you $125 to $500 while you're going through training. You'll be paid $125 to $500 for inviting people to this situation while you're going to training. After you're done with your training, you get $1,000, $3,000, $9,000, or $10,000. Okay? So every time I invite somebody to the situation, I get paid $1,000 to $10,000 if they tell me, I want to be a student like you, Scott. I'm like, fantastic, let's do it. You already saw my numbers earlier, so if you want to take those, you want to make those kind of numbers, then you do what other people are doing. The difference in the two. So you see on the left-hand side of your screen, you're going to see the first year earnings on an average, and in the top earners. And on the left-hand side of that screen, you're going to see what people make after their first year, right? I will tell you this, my wife and I, who you will be interacting personally with after this webinar, we are in the top 1% of the company when it comes to that earnings, and you'll have our cell phone number. Isn't that fantastic? So think about that. We really want to help you. Start making money next week so we can actually get you out of your jobs and into real estate, and your futures will be fantastic. Who we became. My wife and I were this close to being divorced because of our financial situations way back when. She found this meeting. I told her it was crap. I came down. I had to prove, and she proved that she was right. All right, fine. You're right. Let's do this. But I think this, and I'm going to say this without shame. I believe the reason that we're still together today wasn't because it wasn't stressful, but because we had a 2-year-old, right? So we felt more duty to the 2-year-old than we did to each other. I can tell you this today. I'm a lot sexier today with the bank accounts we have, so we're good. Okay. Let's introduce you to an 8-year-old real estate investor. So we do have a company called Mason Matthew LLC. That company is buying properties with the intention that it's our kids. Does that make sense? So we're setting our kids up. Now think about this. Would you rather build a nest egg for yourself and then eat it later on, or build a chicken farm? You can build one egg, or you can actually have a bunch of chickens like rental properties laying eggs every single month. That means you'll be able to pass that empire on to the kids. Does that make sense? Which brings me to my last slide. I do have a 13-year-old. At one point, Maddie, this is Matt, he was 6, and we went to Great America, Six Flags Great America for the first time, okay? We went on a Sunday. This is fantastic. This is very important for you to hear. So we went on Sunday to Great America, and he loved it. It was crowded. We got in long lines for the rides, but he still loved it. Tuesday morning, we wake up, we're eating Cheerios, watching the Disney Channel, and he looks at me, he goes, Daddy, what are we doing today? I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to do? He goes, can we go back to the Great America place? And I'm like, sure. Now, the car, I have an Italian supercar. You can imagine whatever you want about that is, it's an Italian supercar. So we hopped in the Italian supercar, and I put verbiage on the side of the Italian supercar to attract people that are interested in becoming real estate investing. So I actually ride around in a rolling billboard. It's black, it's got red lettering, and it attracts attention. Every time somebody sees that vehicle and contacts me, I make $1,000 to $10,000 when they start working with me. Does this make sense? So I'm driving up the highway in the Italian supercar, that's the rolling billboard, and I'm making $1,000 to $10,000. I park the car in the parking lot to make $1,000 to $10,000, and I go into the park with my little boy, and he notices something about Tuesday that is much different than Sunday. What do you think it is? Right. There's nobody there. Like, we're getting off of rides and right on rides, and off of rides and right on rides. And he looks at me, and he's like, Daddy, where's everybody at? There was a lot more crowded the other day when we were here. And my blue collar answer, because I'm blue collar, I'm like, hey, they're at work. Let's get on the ride, kid. And he stops. He plants his feet in the asphalt because he's 6. He's now using his brain and not his feet at that point. So I'm walking. I'm like, come on, bud. He's like, Dad. I'm like, come on, dude. Dad. He would not move. I had to go collect him. I'm like, what? There is a ride waiting for us. And he looks at me and says, how come you and Mommy don't go to work? And the minute he said it, it took me back to when I was 6 years old. And I watched 2 people, my parents, get up grumpy, go to work, come home angry because of work, and fight and struggle. It reminded me that my parents struggled. And what I realized was my son was growing up in a completely different family tree than I did, right? And I sat and I'm like, oh, what a fantastic question, Maddie. Your mom and I are different. And I always include my son. I'm like, you, me, today, I mean, we had jobs once, they were terrible and we lost them. But today, you, me, Mommy, and Mason, we are real estate investors. So you know how we live in a house? Well, we have other houses that other people live in, and then they go to work and they make money and they bring some money back to us to pay for the rent. So right now, they're at work, so we can ride roller coasters with you. We have contractors. These are like Bob the Builder types who are fixing things and drilling things. They're fixing properties working for us, so I can ride roller coasters with you. We have agents who are finding people. They're working so I can ride roller coasters with you. I said, but you know Daddy's car, the Italian supercar outside in the parking lot? Yes, Daddy. Do you know why Daddy has words on the side of the car? No, Daddy. Well, every time somebody sees that car in the parking lot and they contact us and we help them, you, me, Mommy, and Macy, we make $1,000 to $10,000 by just helping them. So right now, the car's in the parking lot working for us so that I can ride roller coasters with you. And my son, at 6 years old, this is the best part, because you don't even realize they're learning, right? At 6 years old, he goes, Daddy, how come everybody doesn't do that? They could be at Great America with us right now. So in his world, he's thinking, how come all the cars don't have signs on them if that's how easy it is to make money, right? So he is now an entrepreneur at 6 years old. In his brain, he's like, well, that's what I would do to make money if that's what you're doing, Daddy. Does that make sense? So my suggestion for you guys is think hard. Don't think hard. Get your questions answered. That's what you should do. That's part of the process. You come to your follow-up, get your questions answered, be in the Velocity Banking this week with us, learn how to pay those mortgages off road. That's free, right? But know more by next week about this and possibly that than you do tonight. So you can start making some intelligent decisions about your future. Thanks for joining us. I look forward to helping you personally. If that's not in the cards, I still wish you luck. Thanks, guys.